cute.
Welcome, Bella Elwood-Clayton.
Thank you.
Could we start by you telling us a little bit about your latest book, Weekend Friends?
Well, it's my debut.
Yes.
It took a very long
Exciting.
time of my life to get the book out. And I'm pretty thrilled about it.
Congratulations.
Yes. It's about, I think, looking at tween girls and all the drama and intensity and pain of that period and how moms can get involved in that and the sort of maternal rage that occurs culturally and socially.
So when you say it took a long time to get it out,
Yes.
what was the longest part? The writing of it, or the trying to sell it? Or?
Yeah, it took about 5 years to get my agent,
Okay.
and I kept revising. I had a rom-com that got me my agent, and then Weekend Friends didn't take all that long to write itself because a lot of the characters, luckily kind of came alive, and the themes were really close to my heart at the time because my children were in elementary school, primary school at that time.
So I'm a bit confused because your book, is it only published in the US or is it published in Australia as well?
You can get it anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
via Amazon.
Amazon, yeah. Good old Amazon.
Good old Amazon.
We pretend to hate it, but
Yes.
you know what? If it wasn't for Amazon, our books wouldn't be
That's
alive.
right, especially if you don't have a huge big five deal and foreign rights pushing distribution everywhere. Amazon, you can get indie writers can get their writing anywhere. So there's lots of great things about that.
How's it feeling?
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
So fun.
It is fun. It is
Gliding
fun.
along. So Weekend Friends is your debut novel, but it's not the first book you've written.
No. In my previous life, I was a love and relationship expert, and I wrote a book called Sex Drive, which was looking at the female desire throughout the life course. And I've done lots of columns and things like that, but really now, although I edit nonfiction and memoirs, fiction is my heart's desire. I love writing it, I love editing it. That's what I'm obsessed about.
Beautiful. And the log line or the quote on Sex Drive was about the female libido being dead or being at its all-time low.
Right.
Yes. So I think. So, I don't know how you found that out.
Right. Oh my gosh, that book was based on probably like 1,000 scientific studies. I had a research assistant.
Oh, wow.
I spent 5 years on that book or something. So, yes, there's just studies cross-culturally showing that, the longer the relationship is, your sex drive just plummets, especially if there's kids involved. And, women just don't have the energy to fulfill and be sort of buoyed up in all areas of our life.
Yeah.
And a lot of women find more satisfaction in their creative life, or their friendships, or their passion projects.
Yes. And ice skating. So, are you working on something new?
Yes. I just got a 2-book deal actually like a week ago, and it's going to be 2 psychological suspense works. So they've accepted one, and then the next one's due in 8 months. So
8 months?
8 months. So it'll be a whole new process of trying to write fast. I actually started having a bit of memory loss because there's so many things going on that I think my brain was just like, cannot compute. So to make a joke out of it, I made these index cards for my desk, and I flipped them over last year when I was doing different roles.
Whoa.
So sometimes I'd be like, 2 days a week, I'd flip it up to be an anthropologist doing university work to pay the bills. Then I'd flip it over, I'd be like, the dish bitch, time to go down and clean the house. Flip it over, and like, okay, best New York Times selling author and dreams. And so I had all these different roles. But yeah, I need to figure out a way to streamline it.
So index cards, I think, are a good idea. I always buy packs of those when I'm starting a new project, and I never end up using them. I always end up, doing things like writing shopping lists on them.
Oh yes. I've been following Sarah Cannon on YouTube, and she always advises doing those index cards. And I have 2 whiteboards in my little tiny office, just covered in index cards, trying to make sense of the plot twists mostly.
And so do you put those cards in order? I'm thinking we had Graham Simpson on quite a while ago. He writes the synopsis first, believe it or not. I don't know how. Yeah. But so he does that, and then he creates the index cards, but not in any order. It's
Yes.
like writing scene cards and then putting them all into a bucket or a hat or whatever, and then pulling them out and then planning the structure.
Very cool.
So, do you do them in
Yes.
chronological order?
It
or-
really depends on the project.
Yeah.
Like for Weekend Friends, there's a scene at the Fort Park,
Mhm.
a sad scene, which anyone who reads it will know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And that came to me first for the book.
Yeah.
So I knew that was, scene card number 1.
Okay.
Whereas for other projects, sometimes I kind of follow the story genius method,
Yeah.
where you try to get your origin scene or the inciting incident scene or the origin scene of the wound or trauma, as well as the aha moment, like 3/4 of the way through the book. So, and sometimes I just completely wing it. So, but I do really love that it's iterative and playful. Flipping through them and looking at them in a visual way really helps the subconscious get to work and be like a, team, get this book done player.
It's interesting. And do you use anything like Scrivener, or do you?
Yes.
You do.
Huge fan of Scrivener. And my treat now for myself is anytime I start a new project, I buy a new Scrivener template on Etsy, which is, I don't know, $3. But they're so pretty and they're all color coordinated in different kind of, the one I have now is like a sort of Gothic Renaissance or something. So that's fun. The little treats are good. Any little reward you can get in this painful life as a writer without many rewards. So, but I really was trying to explore some of the issues that I see my daughter and her friends were facing in elementary school. So,
which is different. You feel like it's really different now?
I do. There's always that classic 3-girl situation where one person's left out, and even as adults. But the huge, remarkable, awful difference now is that social media is there.
Yeah, so you go home and it's not gone.
It's never gone. It's on your pillow. It's there first thing in the morning. Your parents don't know about it. I mean, every party a kid goes to that you're not invited to, you see all the images, and there's a direct correlation between that and the increase of child suicide. And I think we as adults are having a hard time with social media, not falling for the tricks of everybody's life being so much better and more exciting than ours, and that sort of comparison culture. So how about these kids who don't have their lived experiences and their brains are still immature? It's hard for them to process that their life is pretty pretty okay as is.
They haven't got the context.
That's
and as
right.
adults too, we have the context. It's still really hard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really is. So,
how do you manage it yourself as an adult outside of your child's life?
So with the debut of Weekend Friends, I've really had to force myself. I've opened like a TikTok, for instance.
Oh, wow.
I think there's a lot of pressure for writers now because they're aware that publishers are looking for TikTok sensations, right?
Yeah.
And that will really help them get a huge book deal.
Yeah.
And if you can, writers are more savvy now, and we're very aware. I think that the bigger following we have on social media substantially plays into what kind of advances we get and who's interested in us.
Right. Yeah.
And it is kind of fun to be up with the skills and know how to, my son.
What I find is it's hard to balance that with working for free.
Yes. Yeah.
And as a writer, because your money isn't coming by the hour.
Or ever.
Or maybe never, yeah. And you're supposed to be doing it for the love of it, and you're supposed to feel lucky.
Exactly.
That working for free you don't always recognize it.
So I think I'm fully into looking at all the areas of my life and figuring out what are my main priorities and how to make that really actionable.
Yes.
So every quarter I review what my goals are in the key areas of my life, and I have like a mission.
Well, you sound very structured, I think.
Thank you. I'm not really like that naturally. Well, I think I'm trying to separate now myself somehow. I'm not there yet from the expectations of making money through art. I think if I could just see that as like, that would be fantastic if that happens, rather than hoping and yearning so much to get commercial success from my work.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of what I'm dealing with at the moment.
I think sometimes the most pleasurable thing in creative projects is the anticipation of it becoming what it's becoming.
Yes, I love the new book feeling. I love that new Scrivener template which Tania and I were talking about, and getting to know my new characters, and I'm just absolutely in the zone and truly happy when I'm writing. And, but I think a lot of us are. So if we can maybe remove it from goals of financial success or commercial success, then there's less heartache.
Everyone's favourite question, except for Lucinda's. Someone's phone's ringing. 5 emojis. So in 5 emojis, can you tell us about your latest book, Weekend Friends?
Yes.
So it can be plot points, it can be themes, however you want to do it. And you don't have to tell us what the last one means if you don't want to give away the ending.
Okay. So for me, instantaneously had to be 3 girls because of that whole dynamic of one girl missing out and feeling excluded, and the pyramid of power of one person being on top and playing mind games of relational aggression with the less powerful ones in the social strata. And then I wanted to put a weapon in, but that would give it away. So I just put heartbreak.
Okay.
Heartbroken, and then I put a red heart at the end to illustrate the 7 sex scenes in the book.
7.
Yes, there were 7, and with the mom and the principal of the school, which was a lot of fun to write.
Okay. One last question.
Sure.
How do you write your sex scenes? How do you go about it? Where does it start?
Well, I've been writing about sex for a very long time because I used to be a sexual anthropologist, and I did a PhD on sexual anthropology, and I've done popular media sort of articles and stuff. So I like to write about it in a way that my grandmother could pick up. Not my fiction sex scenes, but just generally. I've spent decades talking about it in a way that probably doesn't offend anybody and can be kind of neutral and talk about the facts with it. That said, for fiction, I'm not too graphic, really. But I like to be playful and have the sex scenes in surprising places, because I think that alone is quite fun for the readers. And really to explore the power dynamics that are going on, and that sort of youthful rush to want something so badly that we as adults, don't necessarily feel as much as we used to when we were younger. So that the desire, the need, and the anticipation more so than graphic details.
So that, I know a lot of people find sex scenes really hard to write. So that's really good advice. And it's never, I think usually not. It's not usually about the sex. It's about, I used to say, the dynamics, the subtext. It's a lot like dialogue.
It really is.
Most sex scenes are not good sex either. So, and it's not gratuitous. It's tricky to write, and I know a lot of people avoid writing it. So.
Right. Well, the main, probably most exciting sex scene in this book takes place at, all the parents are together at a school kind of event at someone's house, and they're celebrating and talking about fundraising. And the mom and the principal slip off to the library. So that's probably the funnest sex scene in the book. And yeah, I think it's great because you get to take a character out of their comfort zone as well. Especially Rebecca in this book, she's gone from being, grieving about her husband, holding a lot of secrets, and in her past relationship, he didn't have a very high libido. So she's had many, many years of having repressed sexuality and not feeling fulfilled as a woman. So now she's sort of going against her better judgment and letting her body lead the way. And that's pretty exciting to write about.
Good. I just thought I'd throw that in there because I know it's something that people find really tricky. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, we'll just say thank you. Okay, Bella, I'm going to interrupt the sex discussion to say goodbye and thank you very much for coming and for being such an enthusiastic and good speaker.
Yes. Thank you. Can I come back next week?
Yes.